Before we resume our reading of Savitri, there is an important question arising out of some observations that were made last time during our discussion on after death state. We had observed that before one dies, one must prepare oneself for death. Otherwise, the condition of the person who departs is usually confused. And one of the elements of this preparation is, while living, to learn to separate oneself from the body. Now, a pertinent question has been asked. How do you do that? How do you learn to separate yourself from the body? This question came up to more than one individual, and I thought we could share the discussion with all, since everyone has to do it, particularly if one follows a yogic discipline. Ultimately, in the present state of ignorance of the world, everybody has to die. Though there is a passage in the Mahabharata where, when there is a debate in the court of a king, the questioner asks, "What's the greatest wonder in this world?" The candidate replies, "Indeed, the greatest wonder is that though the whole world knows that death is inevitable and everyone has to die, still every person somehow functions as if he is going to live forever." There is some truth in it. Subconsciously, we do not want to die. Though rationally, we should be reconciled to that eventuality. To come back to the point, there are a number of ways in which we set about practicing this discipline of separating from the body. There is the traditional discipline of the Sankhyan philosophy, in which you go on saying to yourself, I am not this, this is nature, I am Purusha, I am the soul, and this is nature, Prakriti. You emphasize that. Every now and then, refuse to accept activities of your nature as your own. And eventually, there is a sense of separation from between the soul and nature. So also, there is the Vedantic practice of always affirming to oneself, neti, neti, this is not it, this is not it. Aham Brahmasmi, I am God, I am Brahman, and this is not Brahman. So, they not only repeat this faith in words, but even in practice, they seek to translate this conception in practice. Gradually, according to the measure of their sincerity, it tells. But these are negative ways. Mother indicates more approaches which are more positive. Now look at things. We say, my mind, my life force, my body. We never say, I body or I life force, I mind. That is, there is always the distinction between I and this body, life and mind complex. But in practice, we identify ourselves with our body, with our life energies, with our thought movement. Mother asks, look at yourself. Look at what you were when you were 5 years old, 10 years old. Is the body the same? No. The body has undergone innumerable changes. Over the years, the life energies have multiplied. They are not the same child energies they were when we were children. So too the thoughts. The mind, accustomed to function in a very small sphere, is today open to larger vistas. The quality and the type of thoughts are different. So everywhere we are not the same. The body is not the same, the prana is not the same, the mind is not the same. But I is the same. The one thing that continues without change, without interruption, without modification is this I. Always this individuality, right from childhood from the day we remember till today, there is a continuous thread. This is our self, deformed on the surface as the ego. But after all, the ego is a shadow of something real. And that real, that thing which does not change, which is immutable, is the self. The self of which Sri Aurobindo speaks. How? His first entry or acquaintance with spiritual truths was when he read of the Atman, the self, in England, when he was preparing for the civil service examination, in the translations of the Upanishads by Max Muller. When he came across the description of the self as the immutable, as the eternal, as the unchanging, he felt this is something must to be realized in life. And that is how his interest got awakened in the spiritual dimension. Now, Mother says, when everything is changing, modifying, we know there is something in us which does not change. It lasts. Now that thing which lasts does not end with the shedding of the body, with the cessation of life activity. That continues. And so, in our moments of contemplation, silence, quietude, we should think, mentally conceive of this self, of this element in us which is immortal, which does not change. And once we get some hold on this truth in us, death ceases to have a terror. We no more care for death because we know we are what is immortal. And the technique to become aware of this self in us, which is separate from the life moment, is what Mother calls step back, step back. Every now and then, when you act, when you read, when you eat, whatever you do, for a second, inwardly, you step back. Before you are called upon to decide anything, step back. This must be a deliberate effort to stand back. And when this gets ingrained in your lifestyle, there is an automatic separation from the body life and yourself. What you have to do in daily life is, to put it another way, not to get involved in things. Most of us, we may be very prayerful, We may remember the injunctions of the Gita, offer to God, do as a offering, sacrifice and all that. But once the activity starts, we get involved. We get identified with the work. We lose ourselves. Now this involvement in whatever activity is what imprisons, is what forges the karma. It is there that we have to learn the discipline of standing back and letting the natural energies work. Every now and then, remember, I am different. I am only an instrument. It is she, it is the divine who works. Read, write, eat, you walk. Every time is the right time to remind yourself not to get involved or lost in what you are doing. Always you should stand a little above what you are doing. Then you will be able to control better, direct better, and maintain your consciousness in the status that you want. A mechanical and a physical technique that can help you means all of us, in affecting this sense of separation is pranayama. I do not mean highly intricate steps of pranayama, but elementary pranayama of deep and slow breathing, holding for a while and going down equally slowly. Inspiration, retention, expiration. If you can do that consciously, say before you start meditation, there is an automatic separation from the body life complex and yourself. So whenever you get lost, are likely to get involved, take some deep breaths. They have a purifying effect. They silence the mind, slow down the thoughts, purify the nerve channels, and help you to retain your separate identity from the flow of life. These are considered to be rather elementary steps in any yoga. Any of the traditional yogas, techniques to separate yourself from nature, from the body particularly, they are a must. And it is only by practicing these consistently that you develop the sense of separation from the body. And when this sense of living apart from the body, aloof from nature, becomes natural, when you shed your body, the same state continues. There is no break. There is no interruption in consciousness. What you have always felt to be yourself, unchanging, eternal, immutable, that is there. And in that post-death condition, you are yourself still. I think that is all that I could say on the necessity and the discipline to separate ourselves from the body while living. Of course, we who practice the integral discipline cannot take that attitude of looking down upon the body, looking down upon the mind and life. They are instruments, and as instruments we should cherish them, take care of them, dedicate them to the divine service. We should be grateful to them because it is with their help that we are to manifest the divine. But no more. We are not to get helplessly involved in them. We have dresses of all types. We like them, beautiful dresses. We keep them carefully. But all the while we know these dresses are dispensable. So, cherish them in the right spirit as vehicles of divine consciousness. But remember that there are also grades in consciousness. The status of the self is higher than the present status of the material body embodiment. There will be time enough later to build a bridge between the self and the body. That forms itself without our effort in the later stages of yoga. But that is far, and before we arrive anywhere near that state, we have to develop a full awareness of this separate, untouched self or even soul in ourselves. That's the point, the fulcrum of our moving from the lower hemisphere to the upper hemisphere, of moving from the external mechanical world into the realm of the psychic being, where all is freedom, all is joy, all is love. But this is an essential step. The traditional way, as I have pointed out, is negative, but Mother's way is positive. You emphasize on the positive reality of the center of your existence. Get a foothold there. Stay there. Till you are able to stay there, get back there, remembering her direction, step back, step back. This is one of the greatest mantras that she has casually given to humanity. There is a force in these two words. You repeat them silently to yourself again and again, and you will tell me that the very repetition of these words, step back, releases a force that helps you to effect the transition, to really stand back. We should start it from now. There is no tomorrow in these matters. So for 10 minutes now, let us meditate with this resolution that with her help, we step back into the status of ourself, leaving things to move about on the surface.